Hi, Kimberly and Kimberly's daughter. This is Dawn, and this is just a brief overview of converting percentages, fractions, and decimals back and forth to each other. And so I'm just going to introduce a few concepts just to lay down the groundwork so that when we do meet together, we can actually spend the bulk of our time just practicing. And I'm also going to introduce a few tips and tricks to make those conversions easier. So first of all, it's important to have the basic understanding and just to simplify the ideas. So basically, math is a language. And we are talking about quantity when we're talking about percentages, fractions, and decimals. This is mostly what you've been talking about in your math up to this point. So adding, subtraction, dividing, multiplication, that is the type of math that talks about quantity. So quantity is the amount of something or spatial measurement. When we are adding whole numbers, we are adding actual whole pieces of something. When we're talking about percentages, fractions, and decimals, this is our way to talk about a part of a whole. So a portion of a pizza, a part of an apple, a part of the entire class of students, like what part of the class of students is wearing blue hats today. So just to lay our groundwork, this is what we're talking about. Parts of a whole, different ways to describe parts of a whole. So I drew something here for you. Now, if I wanted to talk about the parts of a whole, and I wanted to, for instance, say something about 3/5 or 61/100, I don't want to have to draw it out like this each time, because this is 61/100 right here, the fraction 61/100, and it took me a long time to draw out 100 boxes and to shade in 60 of them. And then you can see that is the same fraction as 3/5, because if I divide it into 5 groups, 3 of those groups is shaded in. You can also express it as 6/10. So there's 10 rows here, and 6 of those 10 rows are shaded in. So those are all different ways of describing this quantity, this what part of the whole is shaded in. It's a lot easier to describe it in that way than for me to have to draw this out for you each time. So there's just the introduction of the concept about why we use percentages, fractions, and decimals to have this conversation that is math.